there like pushback from within the company when they heard that you were trying to work with Amazon guys? Like, had they worked with any ecom people before, or were they only working with the big players?
They had some ecom people that they did work with, right? They highly discouraged a lot of what I was doing. They told me that, like, don't work with Amazon sellers. Like, oh, another Amazon seller. Oh, like, it was almost kind of embarrassing when I sold an Amazon seller, and I had to tell them that they sold an Amazon.
E-commerce is the greatest business opportunity of our generation.
What is up, people? Once again, it is your boy Kaj here with my co-host Josh with an extra blurry camera to start us off.
I don't know what happened. What's going on, everybody?
Josh's camera just has some sort of struggle to focus, but we're rolling with it. And yes. Today we are interviewing a guest that some of you actually may be familiar with, Marlon Peralta. I actually don't know if I've ever asked you how to pronounce her last name. I just realized I stuttered there.
Nailed it. All good.
Solid. Well, yeah, man. Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, man. Excited. This is cool. Never really got to have a conversation like this. This is exciting.
Yes. So why don't you just give the viewers a brief background kind of on who you are and your career path? Because obviously a lot of the people who we're interviewing are either people selling on Amazon or selling on Walmart or some sort of e-commerce selling physical products. But one thing that we like to do on this podcast is also bring in people who are also doing e-commerce in a way, but maybe from a different angle. And that's kind of the category you fall into. Okay.
Yeah. So my career path has been kind of crazy, to be honest with you. If you were to look at it, you'd think that like, I know in the entrepreneur space, it's all like, you got to focus on the one thing. But if you look at my career path on a broad view, it's everywhere. So I graduated pharmacy school in 2013. So I'm a pharmacist by training. So fast forward a little bit in 2017, I was managing a $200 million P&L for my company. It was my dream job. I was managing 21 pharmacies, and I was killing it too, right? Not only was I responsible for those 21 pharmacies and their performance, I was a top performer in the company as well. At the end of 2017, the company eliminated the position. Horrible news for me, right? So I was forced to go back to work managing a single pharmacy. And this hurt me a lot. It took me years of focused work, getting up that high, lots of embarrassing moments, to sleepless nights to get that position and to get that all taken away just like that. And it was then that I really wanted to have more control of how I make my money and my destiny, so to speak. So I day traded for a while, mined crypto. That was a disaster. I made a lot of bad decisions back then. I bought into bad ICOs. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but ICOs that went to zero. And at the end of 2018, I ran up almost 100K in crypto, which vanished.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that. Well, so quick side note, I just interrupt you there. So me and Josh both love crypto. Josh is much more into crypto than I am. My personal strategies, I'm just the buy and hold guy. Buy and hold long. I don't get into any of the altcoins, any of that stuff. But me and Josh would talk about doing like a crypto specific episode at some point, because we know a lot of people like that. But I am sorry for your loss.
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, the biggest win is your strategy, the buy and hold. I still have my buy and hold, which is cool, but running up that 100K and losing it, especially like at that time, that's a lot of money for me, and it is a lot of money for a lot of people, but it was a lot of money for me at that time too. So that was a big loss, and it was those stupid decisions that made me question, like, why do I make such horrible decisions? So I dug into researching, and like I got really into decision-making theory, market psychology. And one thing led to another, and I fell in love with sales and marketing. Weird. So since then, since like 2019, I ran a couple different sales and marketing gigs that I started up myself. In 2021, I was running a marketing agency for different NFT projects. And obviously, that market died too. Right? Okay.
Oh, man.
So one of the projects I happened to be working with was with a friend from college who was a director for a $200 million distribution company. He saw what I was doing and invited me to work with their company And to my surprise and to everyone else's surprise there, within the first 6 weeks, I closed my first 80K deal with a Fortune 500 company. And a few months later, I was closing deals up to 200K, which was way out of the norm. And that's kind of the wholesale. That's how I made my transition into wholesale back then.
Got it. Okay. And that's when you got on Twitter and took the Amazon corner of Twitter by storm.
Yes, for a short period.
Yes. Yep. And so for context for the listeners, that is how you and I met. I was following you on Twitter, interacting with your stuff, great content, very helpful. I think I even snagged one of the free PO templates that you made and sent it as a lead magnet. And then we hopped on a call, I guess over a year ago at this point, and just kind of as an onboarding introductory call to see if I essentially, because I wanted to purchase from your company. So we had 10-15 minute call. That's how we got to know each other. And then I think we purchased from you 2 or 3 times, maybe even 4. But yeah, that's kind of how that relationship evolved. Yeah. So tell me about, because you said you fell in love with sales and marketing, which is very clear. And that's kind of where I want to spend a lot of our time talking here. So tell me about what that experience was like doing outbound marketing, just to start. So like building up your Twitter and your LinkedIn and then finding people to make deals with.
So actually, before Twitter and LinkedIn, I spent a year, or maybe like 6 months or so, 6 months to a year, just doing straight cold email. That was like my introduction to sales and marketing, cold email. I was doing that for executive coaches beforehand. That's how I ran my NFT marketing agency, through cold email, cold outbound. And that's how I started with all that. That's how I closed my first Fortune 500 company as well, through cold email. Wow. And with cold email, it's just a huge numbers game.
Okay.
I was sending tens of thousands of emails per month. And it's something that it takes practice, and you have to learn how to do that. It took a while to build up to that number, but that's what I was doing at the peak.
Oh my goodness. And cold email, just for anyone who might not be familiar with that term, is just emailing people who you have not had any sort of previous contact with. So it's just quote unquote cold leads that don't know you, you don't know them. How do you go about getting those emails? Or if that's the secret sauce, you don't need to share that. But what are you doing to send like 10? I'm sure you're not sitting there typing out each one individually, no. Right? Or maybe you are.
Okay, so that's how I first started, right? I first started sending out emails individually, right? Because you need to learn how to do it and learn how to talk like a human being to other people before you start sending out, before you scale that. You know what I mean? So that's how I started. I started just doing like 20 to 30 cold emails per day. And that took me a couple hours because I had to do a bunch of research on the people who I'm sending it to. But then after after a while, I really just wanted to start scaling that up. So I was able to find emails on different business databases. So Apollo comes to mind. That's one. LinkedIn, there's ways to scrape their users' emails as well. So that's something that I did. Crunchbase is another website that has contact information. So those are just a couple different ones, but there's a ton of resources for you to find those emails of people.
Interesting. Okay.
That's really cool. And did you have like a certain like?
Not at scale. I've done it a couple times, but not at scale. Okay. But I definitely want to do it more.
Did you have like a platform where it's like a MailChimp or something where you would just bulk load a lot of your emails and send it that way?
Yeah, there was a couple different ones that I did use. The latest one that I used was SmartLead.
SmartLead, okay.
SmartLead, yeah. You would set up multiple inboxes, and then when you would batch all of your emails in a way that it's personalized to the prospect that you're sending it to, right? If you're sending it to like a Fortune 500 company that does, that is specifically doing audio products, then you would batch every single audio buyer in there, and that's how I would be sending my emails so that it's mildly personalized and not just a straight spam email.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. So almost by like category of product, would you actually like batch your things into? Okay.
Yes. And I've also experimented with having my VAs go and researching each prospect and, making a very specific first line to that person. That worked well as well, but at the volumes that I was doing it, the results I was getting just from batching it specifically for a type of person worked well.
Got it.
Very cool. Very cool. I can't believe you found success with that. That's awesome. I mean, like, you think of nowadays where it's like, you're sending all these emails, you're not even sure if people are reading them, but it's like, it just goes to show, like, even if you do it on massive scale, you can like see results. Like, I think that's like so cool. Cause it's like nowadays I feel like every time I see someone, they're always like, calling the phone, like emails, like what a waste of time. And though emails, potentially could be a waste of time if you're contacting 10 people a day, if you're doing, 10,000 to 20,000 emails a day, that's like a whole different ballgame and a whole different story where you can actually get data and you can actually see responses coming back to you, which I think is like very like eye-opening, or it should be eye-opening to anybody who is doing any sort of cold outreach, which is very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So I looked at it as a funnel almost, so you can track open rates, like who's opening your emails. And then after that, you could track reply rates, who's replying to your emails, right? And then from those replies, who's booking calls with you, who's actually buying from you, right? And by looking at each one of those steps, you can see that, hey, this is the subject line that opens emails. This is the subject line that works. And then this is the copy or the body of the email that elicits an actual response that's more likely to do that, right? And then you fix each part of that funnel, and then to maximize how many calls you get. And it's being able to send that many emails out gives you that data to make the decision that you need to make.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
How many VAs did you have when you were working on stuff like this?
Two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay, now going back to the Amazon wholesale side of things. So tell me about what it was like finding Amazon Twitter and then starting to work with people who sold on Amazon versus working with a Fortune 500 company.
Oh my gosh, it was night and day, dude. Night and day. Like, so you're working with someone, I don't mean to be offensive.
Please be offensive. Be as offensive as
more
possible.
offensive the better.
It felt like I was working with a kid in their basement versus like, someone whose processes that I needed to fit into, right? It's like I was working with a $200 million company, and our processes needed to fit into their processes in order for me to sell to them, right? Mm. Whereas I'm working with, Joe Schmo, I flip Sneakers Joe in his basement.
I flip Sneakers Joe. That's great.
And, I'm working with him, and he's, communications like really choppy. They asking such like questions that I've never heard before because they're so obvious. It was just like night and day. But it was a lot more fun. It was a lot more fun. I'd have to say that. There's a lot more ambition, a lot more excitement, a lot more enthusiasm.
Sure. That
I really did appreciate from these kids that really wanted to make things happen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can definitely see that. Now, did you have, and if this is something that you don't want to talk about, that's fine too, but was there like pushback from within the company when they heard that you were trying to work with Amazon guys? Like, had they worked with any ecom people before, or were they only working with the big players?
They had some ecom people that they did work with, right? They highly discouraged a lot of what I was doing. They told me that, like, don't work with Amazon sellers. Like, oh, another Amazon seller. Oh, like, it was almost kind of embarrassing when I sold an Amazon seller and I had to tell them that they sold an Amazon.
But they didn't clip it. They didn't clip it though. They didn't tell you to stop.
No, they didn't tell me to stop. Okay. No. No, like certain brands I couldn't sell, which is obvious, but but for the most part, distribution companies want to make money.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. So for certain products that could be sold to anyone, like we would sell them to Amazon sellers.
Got it. Okay. Give me a couple points of advice or tips to the growing small business that is selling on Amazon, Walmart, whatever. So from your perspective, having worked with at I Flip Shoes Joe and having worked with the big guys and being on the other side of that, like what are the tips you have for them and how to build a successful, or even just, I guess, more so around like being professional and building a relationship with these distributors? Like what would be your advice there?
My biggest advice is to separate yourself from the pack by actually buying, right? Even if it's not a profitable, like a greatly profitable item for you, I feel like that's something that you need to do to separate yourself from the pack, because a lot of people are just, we send out offers to tons of people, right? And it first goes to our best customers, right? Our best customers get our deals first. Like that's, it's a game of favoritism, but that's just how it is, Our best customers get our deals first, and then after that, it goes to the, second best customers. And then after that, the third best customers. And then after that, all the schmucks that haven't bought anything. Right? So by the time that you get a deal and you haven't bought from this company before, a lot of the times it's already been picked through. It's not a great deal because everyone's already, snatched up all the other stuff, and like no one wants this. If you haven't bought and you're getting like single offers the way that we used to work, Taj, if you haven't bought, you're getting offers that no one wants. So in order to separate yourself from the pack, from the Joe Schmo Joe in your basement to someone who we want to do business with, if you get an offer, you got to buy. And then eventually, if you're getting these offers and you say no to every single one, you're going to stop getting offers.
Right. And what other characteristics define the best customers other than they buy a lot?
I mean, fast communication, especially when working through a deal, right? We want to be able to work with someone who can make quick decisions as well, because a lot of times people are the deals that we're sending out to people aren't deals that we brought in. So, for example, if I'm bringing in a deal from, let's say, Microsoft, right? And then I send it to my customers. Those customers are getting it exclusively from me. But if that deal comes from my team, who's getting it from another company, we'll say Corsair, right? So they're getting this deal from Corsair. They're sharing it with the rest of the team. That means everyone else is getting the deal as well. All the sales guys are all working this deal. So fast communication, fast decision making helps out a lot there too.
Right. So it's like the deals coming in, and it might be getting like sent out to, I don't know, 50, 100 different, whatever the network is of the supplier. And
yes.
So it's one of those things where it's like minutes make the difference between you getting it versus someone else.
Yeah, and then if you start a conversation with me about it, and like we're going back and forth forever, it's tough to make something work. Yeah. Then we don't want to. It ends up being a lot of waste of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Be able to maybe ask a couple questions and then say yes or no, so that way you're not wasting each other's time.
Right. Yeah.
Love that.
Interesting.
Awesome. Yeah, and I tried to do that as best as I could. I feel like I was pretty decisive. The other thing I did with you that I've done with a couple other people, but I'm curious to hear your take on this, because this was something I tried to do just to be different, was some of the deals that you would send me, like if it could be good but like not quite, and I said no, I would send you a Loom video and give you, I'm like, hey, like this is why I'm not buying it. Because I also remember you had tweeted once saying that you were trying to learn more about Keepa, how to read Keepa, just to understand the Amazon seller better. And so on some of the deals where I would say no, I would send you a Loom video with like my Keepa analysis. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, bro, I really appreciated that. I thought it was really cool. Yeah, and I think that actually brought us a lot closer together because I get to see your face, you're talking to me, right?
Right.
I personally do that with my current clients, right? We do Loom videos back and forth. I used to do that with my team, and you doing it with me. That was different. That was a lot different. And like you said, we end up doing like 3 or 4 deals together over time, which was a decent amount in comparison to a lot of the other Amazon sellers who I did work with. So
all right.
I definitely think that definitely helped us out as far as lubricating the relationship.
Awesome. Love to hear that. Cool. Okay, Josh, did you have any other questions on the wholesale Amazon side of things?
No, I did not. I think that was really interesting perspective that he has with just like the whole deal making process and how just the speed of the sale is really what matters. Because it's like, we're sitting on our couch looking at Keepa, all day, looking at all these different products, and we're trying to make it work as best we can. And sometimes, the urgency isn't there to close a deal where you're like, on the fence about. But it's like you have to be so decisive, so quick, so that they know that, you'll have that ability to, one, spend that amount of money in that, short amount of time and just make those decisions so that they can get all this inventory that they have brought in, just get in, get out. Like that's the name of the game.
Yeah, I mean, like at least to start, we want to start off the relationship. You got to show that you're a fast decision maker. But then after some time, you'll have some leeway, right? You can, after you built that relationship, you made a couple purchases. You could put in those requests like, "Hey, I need some time to make a decision on this. Can you hold this product for me?" Sometimes they'll do it, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it's about getting your foot in the door, just to start.
Right. Sure. 100%. Okay, let's transition into what you're doing now. So made another transition, but another career transition, but stayed in that kind of sales and marketing vein, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
Just tell us about what you're doing now and how sales and marketing has helped you in your next venture.
Yeah. So let me talk about the transition a little bit because it's, why did I leave wholesale? Right. It was going really well. It was. But there were some issues. So I was an account manager with the company I work with. But technically I was an independent contractor, right? I managed my position like a business. I had a lot of software running. I told you about the cold email stuff that I had going, a lot of software running. I had multiple VAs. I had other vendors I was working with. And with some of my customers and some of my clients, some payments weren't getting to me on time. My operating expenses were beginning to exceed what was coming in. I can admit that I was totally overspending and not running my operation lean enough. I can totally admit that. But at the end of the day, I had bills to pay. So in a panic, I tried selling something that I knew that I could do, and that was weight loss, right? I've been helping people with weight loss for free on the side, friends, family, etc. So I was 100% confident that I could do this. Let's say about 2004 was when I got into fitness, so about 20 years or so. I've been experienced with the ups and downs of fitness and all the issues that come along with both gaining weight and losing weight personally. I started at 125 pounds from like an embarrassing skinny frame, and I got up to an obese 185 pounds at my height. It was like 20% body fat, so I know what it's like, the ups and downs. So when I started pitching people, I started pitching all my warm contacts, and the first person who I talked to about this, to my surprise, they said yes. And then the second person, they said yes too. And by the end of my first month, I had collected $15K in contracted revenue, which is almost all margin, which was amazing for me, right? So I was able to pay off like all the bills that were coming up and more. So nice. A few months later, with some of my like biggest wholesale clients either no longer buying as much or some of them were actually going out of business, I figured now might be a good time to go out on my own. So That's kind of what I'm doing now. And like it's 6 months in, it's still in the beginning stages. I'm sure you know what that's like.
Yep.
It's a grind, but especially with a lot of my warm contacts already burnt, I'm going into colder and colder audiences, but it's still profitable for me. Still doing really well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, do you mostly just do like again, like face-to-face stuff? Do you have like programs? Like how do you run that business side of things?
So how does it all work? So people come to me in online. I also do a lot of referral work too. So it's mostly most of my meetings are done online, but I do meet with some of my clients like locally too, because that's where most of them are. But I do have some that are further away, so we do meet online. So how does it all work? So phase one, like we take what they do personally, we create their like blueprint to start. So we set up the fundamentals. I teach them the diet philosophy, get really clear on their goals. Most people like kind of skip that step, so they end up setting unrealistic expectations, unrealistic goals, and when they can't meet those goals, they lose motivation and fall off. So by the end of that step one, setting up the fundamentals, we set up their timeline. They learn and start applying those fundamentals that we go over. And then I'd say phase two, that's where we design and implement a personalized meal system for them. And most people skip this step as well. And like other coaches, they would give a cookie cutter diet. And these meal plans are usually really restrictive. So when they can't stick to it because of a social event or dining out, or they just don't have the right foods available, they end up falling off the diet, right? And so by the end of that, that's like weeks 2 to 6, or 2 to 6, they lose their first 5 to 10 pounds. Does that make sense so far?
Yep.
About how that works?
Yeah. We're both into fitness too. Josh is a PT. I mean, I've been going to the gym and working out since I was 8. So
yeah, well, not a personal trainer, PT, a physical therapist.
Physical therapist.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
A little different.
Yeah. So cool. You guys get all this. So like at the end, so for phase 3, I'd say is like where the optimization part, where more people fail. And I think this is where most people have their issues, is that they have their diets, they have their fitness plan, but then they max out at like 10 or 15 pounds lost, right? Their fat loss plateaus. And I've done this countless of times with myself throughout like the last 20 years and with other people as well. So like I know when to watch and wait and how hard to push when that time comes. So weeks 7 to 12 and beyond, my clients go like 15 to 20 pounds or more. So that's like the optimization portion. And that's how like the whole entire thing works.
Got it. Okay.
Very nice.
And now,
Very cool.
So you're focusing specifically on the weight loss niche. Are you also just doing like general personal training too, or for right now, just focusing on weight loss?
So my niche is high achievers who want to dial in their nutrition.
Okay.
That's like what I'm focusing on. And a lot of the high performers and high achievers that I work with, I pick that because like, that's what I feel like I am. Right.
Sure.
And I'm sure you guys can resonate with that as well. Like you guys are into fitness, you guys are building businesses as well, right? You guys are the type of people I'd love to work with, right?
Right.
So, those are the people who I am focusing on, like dialing in their nutrition. The side effect is that the people that I work with are losing like 15, 20, 30, 40 pounds, depending where they're at.
Wow. Sure.
And I have a couple other clients who, just want to lose like 10 pounds, but want to gain muscle as well. So we're working through that as well.
Got it. Okay. Very cool. And so what is the sales and marketing side of this business look like? I know before the call you mentioned like now you're mostly active on Instagram for that. How does that work?
So Instagram, it's I'm posting consistently on Instagram. How that works right now in the beginning stages, my content really isn't gonna, go viral and then bring me a bunch of clients. That's not how it's working right now. How it's working right now is that I am doing a lot of outbound, which I'm very familiar with, as we just talked about, doing a lot of outbound, but then my content is just for lead nurture, right? Most people probably aren't going to be ready to go on a weight loss journey with a stranger at first, right? So I'm just meeting people, understanding people's goals, having them follow me. They see me every day, posting, and then eventually when they're ready for it, they'll come. So that's how that portion of marketing works.
Are you doing anything on YouTube?
YouTube, not yet.
You got to be on YouTube. So that long form content builds trust like nothing else. especially in fitness.
Totally. Not there yet, but I definitely will. I'm still trying to nail down my systems for Instagram first. I gotta take things one step at a time.
Yeah, getting content out consistently it's brutal. Not nearly as easy as people think it is.
It is brutal.
Especially once you get past the initial phase of the excitement, and then you're like, I do not feel like posting today, but I gotta post. That's when you really gotta kick it into gear.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like it's hard to come up with the new stuff, but I guess you don't really need new stuff. But either way, it's hard. It's hard getting it done.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people think. It's like they need I always need to do like new stuff, when it's like really it's like 50% of it should be like your most like core values, like recycled, because like half the time probably like not even half your audience is going to see it, and just recycling that like half the time, and then like 10% bringing on new stuff, and then the other 40% could just be like, again, just obviously stuff that's like for your niche. But you can really experiment with all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it's still so challenging. Such a challenge to keep up with the hamster wheel of creating content, for sure.
Yeah, definitely will get onto YouTube eventually, though. I know it's a beast.
Is like that like your next platform that you want to get on, or is there another platform besides Instagram where you're thinking about targeting?
YouTube is definitely like you hit the nail on the head, Kaj. Like YouTube is a great place to build trust. So definitely want to get there next. But I have a long way to go on Instagram. I have a long way to go.
Sure. And as do we.
Do you do any like cold emailing for like fitness now? Or is it more just all like Instagram based? Like, do you do any like cold like email outreach or anything like that? Like what you're doing for like your
I do not. No, I don't do cold email for that. It doesn't seem like, I could be totally wrong, but it doesn't seem like the type of offer that would do well cold email.
Sure.
I could be totally wrong, but I think that doing cold outbound from an Instagram page is much more effective, because they could go straight to your profile and start getting warmed up from there instead of just a cold. I don't know. I just can't imagine getting an email
see that
from
you're
someone.
a real person.
Right. I can't imagine getting an email from someone like talking about getting help for my fitness goals. Just a random cold email. But with with wholesale, right? It's like, hey, do you want to make some money? Like, yeah, I want to make some money.
Right.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah, and it's the difference too between business to business and like small business to client.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, B2B cold email is like normal, but if you're doing B2C, I don't know, weight loss, that honestly that just feels weird.
Yeah,
very interesting.
Do you have like a follower goal? Obviously, I'm sure you're all about getting clients and helping them lose weight and all, but do you ever have like a follower goal in mind?
No, I don't have a follower goal in mind right now.
Gotcha.
Like I said, I think that my strategy right now is using my Instagram mostly as lead nurture. So that really doesn't fall in line with getting as many followers as I can. Followers great, right?
Yeah.
But it's more so for lead nurture. I have conversations with people in real life and online. They follow me on the page and they get nurtured, and eventually, if they feel like they want help, they can reach out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Marlon, do you have any last closing pieces of advice for the viewers? And then Josh, you can land the plane.
Sure.
If you're trying to build a relationship, you got to give them a reason to build a relationship for wholesale. You gotta buy. I think that we're all in this business to take some risks, right? And I think that's a risk that a lot of people are afraid to take. And if you're ready to take that risk and make a purchase with somebody that you're going to be able to get a lot more profitable deals from, I think that's a risk you should take.
Love it.
I love it. And also, Marlon, you said something earlier. It was like, it was like, again, fast forward if you guys kind of missed it. It was like, I was making all these bad decisions in the beginning and I couldn't really figure out why. So I went back to relearn like how to do things differently. And I think that's just a point that I think me and Kaj kind of skipped over. And I think it was just like, I think that's really important, because it's like I remember like, I mean, I was one of those people too who like, you know, bought to like BitConnect back in the day, which was like a nice like classic, you know, pyramid scheme in crypto. Like that was like my first cycle of crypto, and I was like, I can look back on that and be like, man, why did I make that decision? And I was like, that's such a terrible decision. And it's like, then you're like, oh yeah, okay, this is what I'm going to do like next time. And then your next time comes and like you get better. So I really wanted to just commend you on being able to look at those failures and then trying to learn from them. A lot of people will just like get into this mentality of like do. And then next thing you know, they're like, man, dude, I have like nothing. And then it's just like, how do I even go from there? So I really liked, you know, your idea of learning from your mistakes, because I think that's a big thing that even me and Kaja today, we're still working through. So I really appreciated you bringing that up.
We all are working through it. I still make terrible decisions too, man. It's a never-ending cycle of just reflecting and just trying to do better.
Yes, but I think that's also a beautiful part of life that, you know, we have to come to and really learn some from. So guys, if you got value from this episode, give it a like and subscribe to Ecom Unlimited so you can stay updated on all of our new content, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.